Hi. In this session, I will be discussing the further topics in put-away control. We have seen put-away process and handling differences, setting up of the storage type and storage section search. In this session, we will see storage bin search for put-away and the different put-away strategies that SAP offers. So this session discusses the strategies for controlling the storage bin search during put-away. So during put-away, the system first determines a storage type on the creation of the transfer order. If the storage section search check is activated in the master data of the storage type, the system then searches for a suitable storage section in the storage type. The put-away strategy defined in the storage type also defines the criteria according to which the system then selects the storage bins for put-away. So when we configure the master data for storage type, along with the other controls, there is one important control which defines what would be the put-away strategy for that particular storage type. So this particular put-away strategy that we define also defines the criteria according to which the system then selects the storage bins for put-away. So standard SAP offers some strategies that could be used for put-away in a warehouse. So some of the strategies that SAP offers is the fixed bin strategy and open storage strategy, addition to existing stock strategy, next empty bin strategy, pallet storage unit type P, which is denoted by P strategy. We have the bulk storage type and then the near picking bin strategy. Now all these strategies are applicable in different scenarios. So in a warehouse, typically we would be storing different kinds of materials, and there would be a different need into the way the material is to be put away or to be stocked in the warehouse. So depending on the warehouse structure, warehouse arrangement, and the nature of the material, we can use a combination of these strategy to find an optimal solution in the way we are going to store the material. So in a warehouse, we can have many different storage types, and each storage type will be having its own put-away strategy. So let's quickly take a look at the salient features of each of these strategies. The fixed bin strategy is quite obvious. We define a fixed bin for a particular material in the material master, and in the storage type master data we would be giving a fixed bin strategy. So when we have this strategy in place, the material will always be diverted and to the fixed bin of that is defined in the material master. Also, we have a facility or a functionality to not define any of these given search strategies and use a manual search for specifying a particular bin for a material. So we can go with any of the standard strategies, or we can keep the strategy field blank if no strategy is used during the transfer order processing for placement into a storage type. With manual stock placement, the storage bin will be selected and entered manually by the user. So this is recommended for interim storage types and can also be used in conjunction with storage unit management if we are making the storage unit management active. Next we have the open storage strategy. Now, before we actually discuss a lot of strategies, it is important that we actually are able to visualize the kind of material that comes into the warehouse, or it is good that if we are able to visit the warehouse as a consultant so that we get a first-hand feel of the material and understand the complexities that are involved in storing the material. So open storage is typically used whenever there is no particular order in which you would want to place the material. So for example, if your material is coming in a yard and you would still want to define that material in the warehouse, you can use a open storage specifying only one storage section and one bin with mixed storage allowed. So whatever material comes in, you are just going to dump it into that open place into one single bin with infinite capacity. You can also have more than one bin in the open storage. The way you would define these bins would depend on what is the arrangement in the particular place where you want to have the open storage. If you are going to simply place the material on floor, then you can simply draw a grid on the floor and mark the grid with bin number and use that bin to store material. So this can be used for easy finding of the material if the place is huge and you are concerned about not being able to locate the material once you have put away it. So in an open storage, the system searches for a bin in an open storage type. The mixed storage indicator should be used for all open storage types. Usually one or more open storage sections are defined for open storage type. Then one mixed storage bin is defined per section. So before we get into details of more strategies, let us understand or how the warehouse actually looks with different kinds of material. So these photographs would enable you to visualize how the warehouse would look and what kind of strategies would go best with the kind of material that we are going to store in the warehouse. So if you have something that you see here, these are bags and these are drums in which you are storing material. So there is no specific single material that is coming and you are just keeping the material on the floor. So you can very well define this as an open storage. This is just an example that you can use the open storage put away strategy for storing such a material. As against this, if you check this particular quadrant, you have wire boxes and you are keeping certain material in these boxes. Now typically for such kind of material you can have a fixed bin, and in a fixed bin the material that comes will directly go into its designated bin. So these are the bin names or numbers that have been pasted on the bins, and whenever the material comes it would be put away in the designated bin. Again, it is just a suggestion that we can use this as a fixed bin, and it completely defines or depends on how business stores the material and what is the business need of putting away and picking the material. So depending on the actual scenario, you can use the strategy which is the most optimum. Coming to this particular quadrant, the photograph shows a lot of pallets being stacked one upon another, and it's a huge pile of material. So we can see that once the material is been stacked one upon the other, then the only way you can remove the material is by removing the upper pallet and then removing the lower pallet, and then so on going ahead. So we can use the bulk storage in such a case wherein we have material which is really large to carry. Now when we say bulk storage, we should not be confused with materials like fertilizers or cements or pesticides or something that is really in bulk. But bulk storage could be the material that is really huge in quantity and needs to be stored in an orderly way. So in a bulk storage we additionally defined bin structure in which we are going to put away the pallets. So coming to the second quadrant, we see high racks and we see pallets that are stacked one besides the other. Now if you look at it, you can say that each of these pallets is kept in a bin, and you can place stickers on each of the place where the pallet is going to be stacked. So this becomes a next empty bin, wherein you are simply putting in pallets one after the other. As and when you are getting filled, you keep the pallets in the upper rack. So the empty spaces would be called bins. The bins may not be really physically looking bins, but they are just a slot of space in the warehouse on that particular rack, where you call it a bin, and it is able to fit in a pallet. So these are just examples of some warehouses and the kind of material that is stocked in the warehouse, and we can, depending on the way the process is defined in the warehouse and the kind of material that is stocked, we can use one of the strategies that is given by SAP and define the put away using these strategies. Next, just for information, what we see here is a pallet, which is an industrial pallet, and this is material which is stocked on the pallet. Now if we are dealing with storage unit types, when we define an industrial pallet, we give a palletization data. So here if we say 4 boxes is equal to 1 pallet, and if we are going to get, say for example, 16 boxes in a goods receipt, the system is automatically going to divide it into 4 storage units. So this means that this particular pallet is actually a storage unit, and it can handle 4 boxes. So this is just an example of practically how it looks in the system. This is an example of a wire mesh container. This could also be a storage unit. So these are different examples, and there would be or can be more examples, and we need to creatively think what would be the best way to define this material such that the system could propose a storing place for this particular material in an orderly way. So let us have a look again at the strategies, some of the strategies that we were discussing. Then we have a strategy I, which is addition to existing stock. So if we want to keep the material in the same bin where the material already exists, then we can use this kind of a strategy. The system will first search for a storage bin where the material can be added to an existing quant. Provided there is enough capacity for this material to be added, this is where it can be or will be placed. It is important for this strategy that the capacity check is correct, because the material just cannot be added infinitely to a particular bin. So if we have a capacity check in place, it will find the next empty bin if the current bin in which the material is already existing is full. The system will check the capacity allowed in the bin before adding the material. If there are no bins in the storage type with the same material or enough capacity, the system will switch the strategy to the next empty bin. So the next strategy is the next empty bin strategy. This is suited to more randomly organize the warehouse. So in this particular strategy, as the name suggests, the system will search within the storage type for the next available empty bin. Next, we have a storage unit type or a pallet strategy. So this is typically used in conjunction with storage bin sectioning. So what this strategy is all about. So if you have a particular bin wherein you would want to store material in pallets, you can subdivide this bin in bin sections, and you can name the bin sections in the customizing. So for example, if I take an example of this particular rack, and if I were to implement a pallet strategy P, what I could do is I can pick this particular rack. So this is a shelf. These are levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have stacks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you look at this particular division here, so if I were to use a pallet strategy, what I can do is, what the system needs is, I can put 2 pallets in this particular place. So I will call it this particular slot a bin, and I will define 2 sections for this particular bin. So whenever I am taking in material for storing, I'm doing a goods receipt, the system is going to assign a storage unit type and a section of this material. So if this section is A and this section is B, then and the bin is say 01, this whole bin, then when I'm placing material here, the storage unit type would be defined as 01B, and when the material goes here, it would be defined as 01A. So I will just show you how this looks when we are creating a transfer order with one example of a pallet strategy. Next, we have the bulk storage. Now the bulk storage is used for cases where material in question occurs in large quantities. The storage strategy ensures fast access to storage bin by using a more organized structure within a storage bin. So coming back to the last example, if I were to define the same space, the same bin as a bulk storage, it is still allowed by the system. What I need to do when defining this as a bulk storage is I need to further specify the storage bin structure within this particular bulk storage bin. So if I were having this particular space as one storage bin, so I need to define the number of stacks that would go in this particular bin and the height of each stack, so that this particular pallet would exactly fit into this storage bin space. So I would define 2 stacks of height, say 1 meter, and the system knows what is the allowed height for this particular storage bin. So if this is a bulk storage type and I define this storage bin as having 2 stacks structure, then it is going to allow only 2 particular pallets to go inside this. And in a bulk storage type, typically we use it for full pallets, but if we want, we can do the customizing for using it as partial pallet, for partial pallets also. I will demonstrate a pallet strategy in the system now. So I have a material created to be used for this. So I'll just show you the material. The material is 3128P, and I will show you only the WM views. Although I have mentioned the storage type indicators as 007, 007, but I have not put the search sequence for storage type indicator 007. So this will not be able to automatically go into the storage type 007, which is a pallet search strategy storage type, but we will manually divert to the storage type 007 during creation of the transfer order. And most importantly, something that we have defined is the loading equipment quantity. So what we are telling the system that a quantity 30 each is equal to 1 E1 pallet. So this is Euro pallet of height 1 meter, and this is the storage unit type E1. So I will just give you a brief background of how exactly the system utilizes this data to search for the pallets and then the bins into which this pallet will go. So let us understand what is a storage unit type, a storage bin type. So when we define the storage unit types, it is actually we are specifying on what unit the material is going to be handled in the warehouse. So we have an example, maybe it can be an industrial pallet or a Euro pallet or a box or whatever. So we define the palletization data in the material master, and also this is defined in the configuration. Then we have something called the bin types. So in a particular storage type, we have certain bin types which will allow these storage unit types. So if we have a bin type P1 of 1 meter height, so it will allow us industrial pallets which are 1 meter height, and also Euro pallets which are 1 meter height, or whatever the case may be. If you have a storage type which has racks which allow a 2 meter high bin, so you can define the bin type as P2, and you can have a different storage unit type which would fit into that particular bin type. So when you have these data ready, then you can define each material master data. You can define the palletization data into the master data like we did right now, and we define in the search, we define the assignments of the storage bin type and the storage unit type. So whenever a material comes into a warehouse, the system would first check what is the storage unit type, and once it finds the storage unit type, it goes and looks for the assignments that we have done in the storage bin type and the unit type. Once it finds the assignment of storage bin type and the unit type, it would go and search a bin into that particular bin type. This is the way we do the check or set the check for correct storing of the particular storage unit type into the correct bin type. So let us check this in the system. I am in SPRO. Logistics execution, warehouse management. Now, when we have to define the storage unit types and the storage bin types, so storage unit type is something that we define in the palletization data in the material master. So we define the storage unit types in the materials node. Here I will just show for the warehouse. So for S01 we have these storage unit types that have been defined in the system, and you would see these in the material master palletization data. In the drop down, you can select based on how the material is going to be handled in the warehouse, you can select any one of these. Next, you have to define the storage bin types in the storage bin master data here. So I have the assignment of storage bin types for the warehouse S01 as B1, B2, E1, E2. Once we have this done in the system, now what is left out is the assignment of what type of storage unit would go in what bin type in a particular storage type. So this assignment of storage unit type into a bin type goes in the strategies part in activate storage bin type search. So far in strategies we have seen activate storage type search, activate storage section search, then we have the storage bin type search. So we have just now seen that we can define the storage bin types in the storage bin master data node and the storage unit types in the material customizing node. Then comes the assignment part. So we assign the storage unit types first to the storage types. So here we actually define what storage unit types can go in a particular storage type. So we have storage type 001, 02. So the definition is for all these storage types, and we can define in sequence what all storage unit types can fit into this kind of a storage type. So right now we are focusing on storage type 007, which has the pallet strategy, and storage type 007 can allow a storage unit type E1, E2 and IP. Next we have the storage unit types and storage bin types assignment. So basically here we have an assignment of the storage unit types, and we specify which storage bin types can accommodate the particular storage unit types. So we have the warehouse, we have the storage unit type, and the bin types that could go in a particular storage unit type. We have storage unit type E1, and it can accommodate storage bin type E1. It can also accommodate E2, P1, B1 and so on. Next we have the storage unit type check activation part. So we are focusing on storage type 007 for the pallet strategy. So the put away strategy is P, and once we activate the storage unit type check, then the system is going to check the storage unit type for each material that is coming in, and then it is going to place the material as per the storage unit type into the corresponding bin type that is allowed in the system. So this check is going to make the system search for a combination of the bin type that has been assigned to a particular storage unit type, or which could accommodate a particular storage unit type. And you can note that activation of storage unit type, it does not necessarily mean that we need to have storage management active or storage unit management active. So storage unit management, once you make that active, then every pallet that comes into the warehouse is going to be assigned a unique storage unit number. But that is not a mandate when you simply want to have a storage unit type check activation done. Next, when we define strategy for pallets, we have to define subsections of one particular bin. So we do it in this place. So here we have defined our strategy as pallet strategy. We can do it here or in the earlier node. Next, what is important is we define the bin sections. So we define the bin sections as A or B. In A, we define how many quants or how many items or how many pallets it is going to accommodate, and we have another section B, and we define how many pallets it is going to accommodate. So section A will accommodate or can accommodate 5. Section B can accommodate 4. So if you remember the picture that we just saw, if we were to use this particular bin for a pallet strategy, we would define this as section as A with 2 pallets, and if it were section B and it could accommodate say 3 pallets, we would have defined it as B is equal to 1, 2, 3. This is just an example. This is not a perfect example, but just to visualize what exactly this means. Let's get back to the config part. So now once we have these sections in place, let us see the assignment of bin types and storage unit types and how it impacts the sections. So here we have the storage bin type P1, which can accommodate storage unit type E1, and if it is a section A, bin section A, then maximum quantity that could be accommodated is 5. We have storage bin type P1, and if it is an industrial pallet IP, then it would use a storage bin section B, and this could accommodate only 4 quants. So basically the difference is the same bin slot can be divided into either 5 sections or 4 sections depending upon the storage unit type that is being stored. Now what happens is once we define the bins in a particular storage type, the system is going to append this particular storage bin section alphabet to the bin number. So I am here in transaction LS02. I will show you one bin in 007 storage section 001. The bin type here I have defined as P1. So if this particular bin is used for storing the pallet that has come, then the system would give this bin a name 01-01 oblique A if the material is stored in section A of the particular bin. So let us see, after the config and the master data in place, how does the system actually pick up the correct bin and how does the nomenclature work. So here I have a material document created for goods received without a purchase order, and I am using a transaction LT06 to create a transfer order for the material document. Now that we have for material 3128P the palletization data defined, we would see the palletization data coming here. I am receiving a quantity of 150 numbers, and the system has picked up the palletization data from the material master. So the palletization for storage unit type E1 is 30. So if I am receiving 150 quantity, the system is going to create 5 pallets out of that 150, because 30 is the quantity that can be handled in one pallet. Now, as I told you, I haven't specified a search sequence for storage in type indicator 007. So if I ask the system to search or put away in the foreground, it will fail. So I can specify a storage type here as 007. So this way we can use the particular functionality to specify the storage type search when we are doing some testing. We don't need to actually do the config. We want to test something, whether the system is able to find the bins in a particular storage type or something like that. We can specify the storage type here or superimpose the storage type here, even if we have specified a search sequence already. So this helps to quickly see how the system behaves when we are giving the parameters from our end. So I am asking the system to look into the storage type 007, and this storage type has the palette strategy defined. So I put away in foreground. Now you can see the system has started to pick the bin 0101, and the storage unit type is E1, and storage unit type E1 goes into the bin type P1 as per our configuration, and we can see that it has picked up the first subsection in that bin with the name A, and the bin number is 0101. So as we press enter, we have TO item 2, and the bin is 0101B. So it has put it in the second section of the same bin. Likewise, you can see now it is the fifth item, and it is going in the storage type 007, and the bin is 0101 but section E. So now you can see that the 5 pallets that were suggested by the system have all gone into the same bin but into different subsections. So this is the whole crux of the storage unit or the palette strategy. I just wanted to take this opportunity to show you the difference of when we choose a storage unit managed storage type. When we active a storage unit management in a storage type, how it would impact this TO. So if I activate the storage unit management in this particular storage type, the system is going to generate a storage unit for each of this line item, and that particular storage unit will have all the data that belongs to this particular material bin combination. So I will not save this particular transfer order. I am again here at put away strategy, and for S01 007, if I activate a storage unit management checkbox and save, the system will start proposing storage unit numbers for the transfer order created. So we have defined the number ranges for storage unit already here. So the number range for storage unit is already defined, and it is here that we define the storage unit number range. So we have the number range already in place, and the conversion is the length of the storage unit number 20. So we have a 20-digit storage unit number, and this storage unit conversion exit, this controls how the storage unit number is going to be used. So in a normal case, if you have only, or if you are dealing only with storage units in the warehouse, the option 1 is sufficient. If you have something like SSCC number and a handling unit number which is going to come into the warehouse, you would need to select the option 2. So what the option 2 does is that it allows the handling unit number to be converted into a storage unit number into the warehouse. So now we are back creating the transfer order. Now I have the storage unit management active in this particular storage type 007. So you can see the difference now. If I go for put away in foreground, you can see the system has proposed a storage unit number, and the same logic for the storage bin section. I have 5 entries, and now you can see the destination storage unit being proposed by the system. I am not saving this, but this was just a demonstration of how the system assigns a storage unit number for a particular pallet which has storage unit management active. But for a pallet strategy, the storage unit management active is not a mandate. So I'm not saving this now. The important point here is that the system allowed me to change the status of the storage type just because I was taking the material inside the storage type for the first time. If there exists material already in the storage type, then it is not possible to change these storage unit management activation status. So if it is the first time, you can do it.